Welcome to Caliente Topics. This is your daily tax webcast. My name is Veronica Russell from MMTAXMan.com, and I have Patrick Russell, EA, as well from MMTAXMan.com. Good morning, Patrick, and happy Monday.
Good morning, Veronica. Guys, we're going to have a fun topic today to talk about and discuss the Pandora Papers. If you recall, the Pandora Papers are following the Panama Papers that we first saw in 2016, where it was a first glimpse from one financial institution of how an offshore account for the rich and powerful usually will run down to. You're talking about a jurisdiction that's outside the United States. We'll get to that in just a moment. Generally speaking, if we're talking about an American billionaire, we're talking about a jurisdiction that's outside the United States, so outside of the purview of the U.S. Treasury and the IRS rules. Talking about usually a small place to include an island, because you do have local laws and local tax rules that you do have to obey, just like any country. But the smaller the country, the easier to pay off the governor of that country. And so these island states, if you will, have become real fodder for the rich and powerful because they're able to establish really a social, economic, and political matrix by simply just paying off the local officials because it's that small of scale. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Richard Branson essentially bought an entire island for himself, even though it does have a local government and residential rules and regulations. But of course, it's Richard Branson's island. We all know that. And so the tax laws very pequeño when it comes to that particular island, if you know what I mean. And that's generally how it works. That was one financial institution, so we really didn't have a chance for the depth of how pervasive this kind of scheming was going on. Well, now enter the Pandora Papers. Try 14 financial institutions that span over 90 countries, including the United States, Russia, and China. So essentially a true global perspective of the weight that's being moved around in offshore accounts to include to the tune of $11.1 trillion. That's what the estimated value of ash and coin is out there that not one dime in taxes have been paid on, right? And so what are we looking at here to highlight what can we do to fix the system moving forward, right? Obviously, automation and data and technology is allowing the transfer of banking information at such a fast rate that allowing better financial laws between jurisdictions is something that I think is just common sense for everybody, right? But also it's a matter of deciding what we're going to be doing from a third-party sharing of information perspective so that we can bring the majority of that $11.1 trillion back into the tax base. Yeah. Why? Because we're not talking billions. That would be chump change. We're talking trillions of dollars that could effectively fix all of the problems that the country is currently facing, as long as we allow a matrix that would force third-party reporting to such a degree that these $11.1 trillion that are being sheltered in offshore havens can now be brought back into the fold. And I think it's just common sense. Why? From a small business owner's perspective, we talk about low taxes all the time. We typically will lean towards conservative candidates who spout lower taxes and less regulation. But these are also people from the same political organizations and, of course, the same mega families that are driving the problem. It's not high tax rates that's the problem. It's the fact that we can't identify where all of the income is going and coming to. If we had a better job of doing that, imagine tax rates not at a marginal rate of 40%, Veronica, but 2%, 3%.
That would be
How much more forthright and forthcoming would the world be to include individuals, to include small business owners, to include mid-sized to large businesses that are now dealing with a tax rate of single digits? Yep. That's the argument that we are we're stressing, that we are supporting, because we're trying to offset the propaganda by those powers that be that are spending millions of dollars on media lobbying and then media coverage in order to persuade the populace that it's not really them that's the problem. It's not them hiding their massive wealth that's the problem. It's Papa Joe trying to give child tax credit and child care to the working family. It's that entitlement. What are we, a socialist country? It's that argument that we're trying to take the air out of because it's untrue. If we're really talking about moving forward, not only from a tax policy standpoint, but also from an innovation standpoint, that starts at the bottom, right? And the only way that we could do that is by lowering our marginal tax rates so that all of us feel much more forthright and forthcoming with the income that we're making, right? And so that's what we're advocating here, is that cut the noise from the conservative side that are pushing the notion that third-party regulation is somehow subverting the common man, the small business owner, or the striver and the hustler. That's absolutely untrue. It's the one thing that's going to allow you to keep more money in your pocket, because now it's going to force the 1%. And I wanted to bring final note. Everybody always kind of thinks to themselves about the cabal of the world, right? That dark world, that dark room where everybody's smoking cigars and making big decisions that are moving the tides of the world. Well, the amount of people that and families that had the wealth, the connections, and the wherewithal in their heart and mind to hide their money, about 130 families, 130 billionaires, right? And then underneath that, the people that had the power, maybe not just so much the wealth, but the power to hide what they had, an extra 330 politicians, right? And so now you're talking about less than 500. Imagine that. Less than 500 families, individuals that are now so pervasive in our life that they are trying to drum up the argument that by third-party reporting and by better financial laws between countries, that's somehow going to be subverting the smaller man, the common man, the working man. Not true. It's the one thing that levels the playing field. It's exactly the one thing that we need in order for the smaller guys, the younger guys, to be able to rise up and keep more money in their pocket. Final note?
No, I mean, everything that you just say makes sense, and we're going to come back with probably another webcast on this.
Absolutely. An ongoing conversation, guys. Please, quick way to get a quick answer is by using our comment box below. Don't subscribe to this channel, even though we will be doing this pro bono tax workshop on a daily basis. But lend your voice to this show. It'll make it a whole lot more fun. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.